あかり様ではありませんか。
久しぶりね。元気にしてた？
ええ、それはもう。それよりやっとお戻りになる決心をなされたのですか。
冗談じゃないわ。今日は事件の報告をしに来ただけよ。
そうですか。いえ、ですがそれでもお戻りになられる決心をなされたこと大変嬉しく思います。
ありがとう。じゃあ行きましょうか。
Yeah. When I attempted to follow Akari through the gate...
お待ちください。
Whoa! The gatekeeper held a baton over her head and detained me.
ちょっと、これはどういうこと？
いくらお嬢様のお連れの方とはいえ、三賢人様の許しもなしに屋敷に入れるわけには参りません。
あなたが仕えているのはどこの家？
はあ、吉備津宮家であります。
その吉備津宮家次期当主、吉備津宮あかりがいいって言ってるのよ。彼を通しなさい。
しかし。
聞こえなかったのかしら？もう一度だけ言うわ。彼を通しなさい。
かしこまりました。
The gatekeeper reluctantly nodded, shot me a harsh glare, and lifted the baton. Wow, Akari-san was awfully striking. She'd been so clingy lately that I'd forgotten how gallant she could be. After giving it some thought, this dignified Akari was probably just some sort of front. Hey Akari, who are the three sages?
吉備津宮家のアドバイザーみたいなものよ。私も直接会ったことはないんだけどね。
They sure throw their weight around an awful lot considering.
年寄りなんてどこもそんなものでしょ。老害よ、老害。
Akari replied in a somber tone and grew silent. It seemed like she really hated anyone associated with the Kibitsumiya family.
さあ、着いたわよ。一応身だしなみは整えて。
Akari stopped in front of a massive white door. I could tell with one look at its elaborate design that the place that followed was important. Past here is...
ええ、吉備津宮家の現当主。私のお母さんがいるわ。はい。あかりです。入ります。
Beyond the door as it whooshed open, the familiar woman there sat upright in her seat and quietly gazed at us.
あかり。久しぶりね、お母さん。それに、いえ、そちらの方は。
Pretending not to know me, huh? I guess she posed to that question to play along and act like I was a stranger. Hello, I'm Urabe Keisuke. I am currently dating your daughter.
そうですか。娘がお世話になっています。
Maki-san said in reply with an accepting, calm expression. Was she happy to hear I was dating Akari, or was this simply part of a plan? It was too soon to tell.
それで、今日訪れたのは、偽裏騒動の報告ということでしたね。
Maki-san's expression went firm once more as she turned to face Akari.
はい。内容はこのファイルに書いてある通りです。ご確認ください。
Akari set the files out onto the table and Maki-san quietly took them. Then she gave off a tiny sigh without looking inside.
確かに受け取りました。では、私はこれで。あなたも早く帰りなさい。
Huh? Was that really it? I mean, Maki-san was the head of the Kibitsumiya, so I understood why she would act so resolute and was likely busy with her other responsibilities. However, after all that talk about how much she loved her daughter, this was a little hard to swallow. Maki-san, I think it would be in our best interest to speak for a little while longer.
要件は済みました。お引き取りください。
But...
お引き取りください。引きましょう。 私ももうここに用はないわ。早く行きなさい。そんなに繰り返さなくても聞こえてるわよ。ケイスケ、行きましょ
お話中申し訳ございません。三賢人様がお嬢様とお会いになられたいそうです。
う。下がりなさい。今は大事な話の途中です。
失礼いたしました。ですが、先ほどのくれぐれもお忘れなく。
三賢人が私に何の用かしら。あかり、今すぐ帰りなさい。でも今、いいから帰りなさい。あなたはここにいない方がいいの。あなたのような半人前を三賢人と合わせるわけにはいかないと言っているのです。さあ帰りなさい。何よそれ。いいわよ。頼まれたって誰が会ってやるもんですか。行くわよケイスケ。こんなところ二度と来るもんですか。
Hey, Akari! I quickly chased after Akari as she loudly stormed off. Then, at the last moment, I turned to face Maki-san. Are you sure you're okay with leaving things this way? Maki-san!
いいから行きなさい。
Maki-san's voice quivered, her eyes tinged with sorrow. It almost looked like she was pleading to me in some way.
やっぱり来るんじゃなかった。私がどんな気持ちでここまで来たと思ってるのよ。
But Maki-san was acting strangely.
あの人はいつもああだったわよ。
You're not wrong. She was cruel to you until the very end, but it looked like she had a reason for pushing you out so fast.
まあ、言われてみればそうかもしれないけど。やっぱりそんなことない。あの人は私が嫌いなだけよ。私が何をやったところで認めないような人だもの。
Akari. This didn't sit quite right with me. Maki-san was hiding something. She refused to let Akari meet the three sages. That's how it felt to me.
もうちょっと何かあるかなってちょっと期待したんだけどね。ほんと全然変わらない。飴も与えず無知ばっかりじゃ逃げ出したくもなるわよ。
Akari.
昔はあんな人じゃなかった。こんなに冷たい人じゃなかったのに。私はあの人にとってどんな存在なんだろう。
She did her best, but received no recognition. Yes, if that's how it was, I could understand why Akari hated Maki-san. But I knew deep down that Maki-san loved Akari dearly. The key to unraveling this inconsistency must lay somewhere, but I didn't have enough information yet.
いいもん。私にはケイスケがいるもん。
Akari said that childishly and nuzzled her cheek against my shoulder. I kept quiet and patted her back.
気持ちいい。ねえ、今度は二人でウラを捕まえましょう。
That's pretty out of the blue.
だってそうすればきっと。
Akari.
なんでもない。忘れて。
Phantom Thief Ura was a thorn in the Kibitsumiya's sides. Capturing him would be an outstanding achievement. If she pulled it off, Maki-san would be forced to acknowledge Akari. Yeah, probably something like that. It looked like Akari still had lingering attachments to Maki-san after all.
ウラは犯行を行うとき必ず予告状を出してくるわ。それがいつになるかわからない。だからそれまでは何もしない。何もできない。それまではケイスケと一緒にずっとくっついていられる。
Yeah.
ごめん。今ね、ウラなんか現れなきゃいいのにって思っちゃった。これじゃあ吉備津宮の人間として失格だよね。こんなんじゃお母さんも私を見かけるよね。
Akari. Akari hung her head, and I gave her a tight hug. We were all over one another in the middle of the street, but she didn't seem the least bit upset. In fact, she clung to me even tighter and spoke sweet nothings to me. Could it be? No, it went without saying that her conversation with Maki-san had been a major shock. Sorry, Akari, it may have been too soon to force you to meet Maki-san. That night I stared up at the ceiling and tried to organize my thoughts. To be perfectly honest, I thought things would work out somehow if I could only get Akari and Maki-san to meet. Maki-san loved Akari. I believed that to be true. However, the situation was far more grave than I imagined. There had to be some complicated circumstances causing Maki-san to act the way she did. What could I do to figure out what those circumstances were? Akari would never tell me even if I asked. Actually, it seemed more like Akari had no clue what was going on either. Which would mean my only choice was to talk to Maki-san about it directly. I didn't know her reasons, but I suspected she adopted that stern attitude because Akari was with me. How would things work out then if I were to speak to her after changing our conditions? When I met Maki-san in town, she had been sneaking around to try and meet with Akari. What if I created a moment for them? Yeah, it's worth a try. To take that first step, I would need the help of the one person who likely knew Maki-san's contact information, yet also had enough influence of her own. I immediately grabbed my phone and gave Kana a call. The next day I went to visit the Kibitsumiya estate once again. Just like yesterday, after stating my business, the gatekeeper made no attempt to stop me and I was allowed to enter the estate. I was grateful to Kana for pulling some strings to make this happen. Although I was kept waiting a short while inside, Maki-san politely bowed her head and appeared before me. Though with a bit of a stagger, she kept her head held high and took a seat in her chair. I'm sorry to ask such a huge favor without warning. There's something I absolutely had to discuss with you.
いえ、私もまた圭介君に会いたいと思っていました。昨日は知らないふりなどしてしまってごめんなさい。
Not at all. It's not like I'm completely unaware of your circumstances. I can infer that much.
ありがとうございます。
Having said that, Maki-san directed a soft smile, the sort she would never show Akari my way.
それにしてもあかりが男性と共に戻ってきたと聞いて驚いてしまいました。ですが、あなたの顔を見て安心しました。あの子と本当に付き合っているのですよね。
Yes, I am crazy about her.
よかった。圭介君にならあの子を預けても安心できます。ちょっと気難しいところがある子ですが、とてもいい子です。あの子のことよろしくお願いします。
Maki-san replied with a firm bow of her head. This was, without a doubt, a parent giving me their blessing. Whoops! This was no time to drop my guard. I was sure Maki-san was busy, so I decided to get straight to the point. I'm sure you are short on time, so I'll make this quick. Why do you act so coldly to Akari?
吉備宮当主として母として必要だからそうしています。
But aren't you overdoing it a little?
どういう意味ですか？
When I asked Akari about it, she said you have been cold to her for some time now, and you would never praise her no matter how hard she tried. Was that truly how you wanted to treat her? Isn't there some underlying reason?
必要だからそうしましたと申し上げたはずです。
But I am sure that isn't how you genuinely feel. In reality, you want to hug Akari and compliment her. Am I wrong? My comment made Maki-san's body jerk. I assumed as much. She didn't want to treat her so coldly after all. It was too soon to lose focus, but my hope that it was true came as a small relief. This is what I believe. The Maki-san I spoke to in town, who had such a gentle look on her face, was the real Maki-san. The lovely woman who has a beautiful yet soft smile, can easily fly off the handle, but be so very kind, was the real Maki-san. I can't possibly imagine that the Maki-san who is so cold to Akari is doing anything other than force it. Please tell me why. I will do absolutely anything if I can help you. I want you and Akari to get along. You two are the only family you have in the entire world. Remember what you told me? There is no mother alive who doesn't love her daughter. I believed in every word you said.
圭介君、ありがとうございます。私、圭介君のそういうまっすぐなところ好きですよ。
Huh?
きっとそういうところにあかりは惹かれたんですね。主人もそういう人でしたし。
He was? I had more or less realized that Akari saw some of her old man in me. She definitely seemed like a daddy's girl. No matter what acted as the catalyst, and no matter who I resemble, I love her. That's why I want to stand by her, and those feelings will never change.
そうですか。本当、圭介君は強い人ですね。私もそんな風に生きてみたかった。
Maki-san cast her eyes downward and clenched her fists that rested on her lap.
私だって本当はあかりに優しくしたかったんです。一緒にお洋服を見に行ったり、台所に立ってお料理を教えたりしたかった。可愛い我が子だもの。思い切りギュッて抱きしめてあげたい。でもそれは無理なんです。できないんです。
Maki-san shouted out between weeps without wiping away her falling tears. Then please tell me your reason. I will do anything that's within my power. It's not just Akari. I want to be there for you too, Maki-san.
圭介君。
After falling silent for a brief moment, she let out a heavy sigh and nodded.
そうですね。私ももう疲れました。愉快な話ではありませんが、私の愚痴に付き合ってください。
Like so, Maki-san slowly began to tell her story. About the feelings she kept hidden inside for her beloved daughter.
10年前、私の夫であった吉備宮守が土蜘との戦いで命を落とし、吉備宮はすぐにでも次の当主を立てなくてはなりませんでした。吉備宮は世襲制で、先祖である吉備彦の血を受け継ぐ者しか後を継ぐことはできません。そこで三賢人は当然のように幼かったあかりを当主に立てようとしました。ですが私はそれに反対でした。当主となれば生活の自由はなくなります。屋敷に監禁され、当主としての厳格な教育を受けさせられることになります。学校にだって通えません。恋をすることもなく、用意された相手と結婚させられ、三賢人の敷いたレールの上を歩まされる人生を送る。私はあかりにそんな生活を送らせたくなかった。普通の学生として友達を作って恋をして、そんな生活から生まれる人を愛する気持ちを養ってほしかった。それは守さんの願いでもあったから。
Akari's father?
はい。人の心をないがしろにする三賢人のやり方では、いつか吉備宮はダメになる。変わらなければ俺が変える。よくそう語っていました。ですが、その願いを叶える前に彼は言ってしまいました。ですから せめて私にできる範囲で彼の願いを叶えたかった。そこで私は当主代行を買って出ました。三賢人もあかりが成長するまでという条件付きでそれを認めました。そこまでは良かったのですが、代行の仕事は思っていたよりも大変で、本当に寝る間もないほどでした。それと私、どうも人に命令するということになれなくて、それですごいプレッシャーを感じてしまいまして。
No, that sounds just like you. Very true, it likely wasn't in her nature to order people around. If I had to say, supporting others and cheering them on from behind the scenes suited her best. I bet she must have pushed herself pretty hard to behave like a proper acting head of the family.
昼の間に疲れ果ててしまい、仕事を終えて自室に戻る頃には、あかりの話を聞いてあげる体力が残っていませんでした。それでも、最初の頃はそれなりにうまくいっていたんです。あかりの誕生日や守さんの命日には必ず一緒にいるようにして。ですが、三賢人はあかりの教育方針にまで口を出してきました。もっと厳しくしろ。簡単に褒めるな。吉備津宮の当主なのだから、それくらいできて当然だからと。あの子は人並み以上に努力していたはずなのに。頑張ったね、偉いねって抱きしめてあげたかったのに、それすらも許されなくなって。
Additionally, Maki-san had always regretted not going to visit her husband's grave. When she heard Akari would be leaving home, she broke down crying in her room. But then, when she realized it would get Akari away from the three sages, she persuaded them to allow her to live on her own. She had been watching over Akari's livelihood from the shadows to this day without Akari's knowledge. Bit by bit, she told me the entire story. Maki-san, are these three sages really so remarkable?
はい。吉備津宮当主といえど、この島にいる限り、彼らに逆らって生きるのはかなり難しいのです。
Since I recently moved here, it's hard for me to wrap my head around.
それが当たり前だと思います。私がもっと強い母であったら、三賢人ともっとうまく渡り合えていれば、あかりに辛い思いをさせずに済んだと思います。本当、私はダメな母親ですね。
Maki-san asked with a sad smile. Smiling sadly truly was all Maki-san ever did. I think you're a fine mother. You may have your disagreements, but you have lived strong this entire time for Akari's sake. I assume the cold attitude you take in front of Akari is to keep her from worrying, because you wanted to show her how magnificent a head of family you could be? Isn't it because you wanted to tell her without words, I'm alright, so go live your best life?
それは。
Akari may not acknowledge it, and you may not either, but that's how it appears to me. That's what I believe. Even now you have such a beautiful look on your face when you talk about your daughter. You're not a horrible mother, especially when you talk about your daughter looking the way you do. You truly are a fine, kind and lovely mother. Akari may be stubborn in some ways, but she isn't senseless. If you were to tell her everything you just said, you'll be able to get along like you did in the old days. Let's tell her everything for once. If you need an opportunity, I'll make one for you.
健介、ありがとう。本当に嬉しいです。
It was then that Maki-san quietly reached out with tears pooling in her eyes. Maki-san! All of a sudden, she collapsed in place. I rushed over and lifted her up in my arms. Maki-san, are you alright? I'll call for help right away. I thought I told you, the next time this happened, I was going to call an ambulance. When Maki-san saw how frantic I was, she sadly, yet silently, shook her head. It was already too late. When I saw how determined she looked, a chill went up my spine. No, we have to get you to a doctor. As I spoke, Maki-san softly put a finger to my lips. She gently shook her head, and with a sad smile,
それよりお願いがあるんです。
I'm telling you, this isn't that time for that.
この間のようにあかりにしているみたいにギュッてしてくれますか。お願いです。少しだけ元気をください。
What I should do is to have Maki-san checked out by a doctor. But when she asked me with those harrowing, ephemeral eyes, I fell silent and hugged Maki-san tightly, just like I would for Akari.
暖かい。
Akari says the same thing when I do this for her.
そうですか。あかりが羨ましいです。こんなことを言ってしまった夫に怒られてしまいますね。いけませんね。母は強しと言いますが、やはりこれでは母親失格です。
What are you talking about? You protected Akari, protected your daughter all on your own. You're a fine mother. I mean, you may have walked down the wrong path for a little bit. You can still fix this. So please, stop being so timid. You may be Akari's mother, but I'll still get mad.
圭介。
Also, you're banned from looking at me that way. It's going to put me into a strange mood.
今の少し嬉しかったです。
At long last, she flashed me that same impish smile she'd shown me once before.
圭介くん、2つお願いが。
I can't make any promises, but let's hear it.
ありがとうございます。一つはあの子のことです。どうか幸せにしてあげてください。
Maki-san.
圭介くんになら任せられます。あとよろしくお願いします。
Oh, come on. I keep telling you, you're banned from setting these weird flags.
ごめんなさい。それで最後のお願いは。
You're banned from calling anything final too. I won't accept anything other than a happy ending, alright?
何も言わずこのままもう少し抱きしめていてくれませんか。
Huh?
あの人が亡くなってから、あかりが出て行ってしまってからずっと一人だった。寂しかった。あの人に怒られてしまうかもしれませんが、少しだけぬくもりをください。
I couldn't exactly deny her now that she'd said that much. I put a bit more strength into my embrace.
暖かい男の人の匂い。
Akari had said the same, hadn't she? However, Maki-san's blissful smile was fleeting compared to Akari's. She clenches my shirt rather tightly too.
これをあの子に渡してくれませんか。
After what, when Maki-san had finally calmed back down, she handed me a paper bag with the peach cushion wrapped in a ribbon inside. Maki-san, you should give this to her yourself.
ごめんなさい。ですが、
You want me to pretend it's a gift from me, don't you? I replied with some mild irritation.
お願いできるのはケイスケくんしかいなくて、
I can't make that promise.
よろしくお願いします。
Maki-san courteously bowed her head as I spoke to her through gritted teeth. This was unbelievably frustrating. I'll be back, but with Akari next time. I promise Akari will understand. Then you'll be able to go shopping together and teach her how to cook and everything in between.
はい。はい。本当にありがとうございます。
Huge teardrops ran down her cheeks yet again.
さあ、今日はもうお引き取りを。私はもう大丈夫ですから。
Maki-san.
ケイスケくんが今日はいっぱい元気をくれましたから。
Nobody who was perfectly fine would ever smile so painfully. Or so I wanted to say, but we couldn't keep talking out in the hallway like this forever. Sorry to intrude, I'll be back. With some reluctance, I left the Kibitsumiya estate. Akari, I have a present for you.
いきなりどうしたの？
Here, you like these sorts of things, don't you? When night fell, I visited Akari's room and immediately gave her the paper bag. Her eyes went wide the moment she saw the huge peach cushion inside.
この桃のクッション、商店街のおもちゃ屋にあったやつよね。
Yeah,
これずっと欲しかったの。いつの間にかなくなってて悲しかったんだけど。ケイスケ、ありがとう。ほんとかわいい。
a smile leaped to Akari's face as she played around with the cushion like a puppy that had just been given a toy. She was so adorable, and I couldn't help but hesitate to share what was on my mind. There was also Maki-san's request to consider. Still, I believed I should tell her the truth. The truth is, Maki-san asked me to give that cushion to you. Akari's body twitched and her expression went stiff, just as I had expected, as she slowly turned to stare at me.
どういうこと？
I saw Maki-san today. As long as I'm mentioning this, I've actually met up with Maki-san a few times now.
お母さんと？でもこの間は初めて会ったみたいに。
Maki-san pretended not to know me, so I played along.
ケイスケ、お母さんとどういう関係なの？
Don't be so defensive. It was a total coincidence, and we've spoken a few times as a result, that's all. Maki-san was super worried about you.
そりゃ、こんな宝刀娘がいたら悩みもするでしょうね。
Don't talk like that. Maki-san loved you a lot.
そんなことあるはずない。
Well, listen. I was a little unsure of whether I should share everything Maki-san told me, but I did it anyway. All of the conversations Maki-san and I had were now out in the open. How much Maki-san thought about Akari, and about how she was continuing to push her broken body to this day for Akari's sake.
信じられない。
Akari went silent for a brief moment.
でも、ケイスケが嘘をつくはずない。
It was hard to tell whether she had accepted it or not, but she did nod her head.
お母さん、本当に私のことを心配してた。
Yeah, she's a good mom.
だといいんだけどな。
She leaned against me as she spoke. I softly set my head against and nuzzled up to her when... Akari stopped rubbing her cheek against mine, then sniffed at my chest. What is it?
ケイスケ、これもしかしてお母さんの香水？
Ah, how could you tell?
だってお母さん昔からこの香水だもん。あれ？ちょっと待って。でもどうしてケイスケからお母さんの匂いがするの？
Oh, I'm guessing that must be from when I hugged her.
抱きしめたってお母さんを？どうして？
She seems less than healthy. Every time I see her, she staggers around. Then today, she suddenly collapsed.
もうそれなら納得かな。ねえ、それならちょっとお願いがあるんだけど。
Akari clung to my chest, then began nuzzling against me off and on. What will I do with you? So, what is it?
このままギューって抱きしめてくれない？
Oh, the usual? That's no problem. I gave Akari a tight hug around the shoulders, just as she wished for. Akari smiled childishly, without a care in the world, and I gently brushed my fingers through her hair.
思った通り、今日はなんだかお母さんに抱っこしてもらってるみたい。
Akari. Oh, I got it. The perfume, huh?
お母さんの胸と違ってゴツゴツしてるけどね。
Akari's voice, as she sat there smiling, was kind of reminiscent, yet also somewhat tragic. I hugged the beach cushion Keisuke had brought for me and stared out my window. The fake Uda incident had been settled and I submitted my report. There was no longer any need to return home for a while. I hadn't yet forgotten how harshly I had been driven out the other day. This was something I had endured for such a long time now. Honestly, I had no desire to get anywhere near that household again. However, I was shaken to my core after hearing what Keisuke had to say. If this story was true, then I'd said some awful things to her. But I suffered too, you know. A faint scent of perfume came off the cushion. A present from Mom. How many years had it been? A gentle memory of the final act of kindness Mom had ever given me. A warm memory I couldn't forget even if I tried. They were feelings I had sealed away, believing it was better not to let myself be hurt anymore, as the repetitive cycle of expectation and betrayal repeated on a daily basis. She had sent me such a lovely peach cushion. She remembered the things I loved. She may have heard as much from Keisuke, but it did nothing to change the fact that she had thought about me, and that she had sent me something that brought me so much joy. I wondered, hadn't I expected far too much from my lonely mother? Something told me I had wanted her to spend all of her time with me without ever giving much consideration for her circumstances. Despite everything, she was the mother that had raised me into who I was today. I wanted to see her one more time. I wanted to have a real talk with her. I would see her again, sit down and talk things out. I could think about what I would do next when the time came.